Hello and welcome to Cannon County High School Algebra 2. This is another in our series of videos designed to help those of you who are trying to bring your third quarter grade up to passing. And today we're going to look at how do I do O.11. O.11, which is inverse functions and relations. So, Mr. Lyon, I'm going to ask you to supervise from over here again. Let's take a look at O11. There are a few things you have to know on O11. All right, inverse functions and relations. First of all, they are going to be asking us, is something a function? If something is a function, and again, I'm going to go through this relatively quickly because we went through all this in class, and I know you'll remember it when we start talking about it again, but we use the vertical line test. And that just means you can use your pen or pencil or whatever and look at the function from left to right. I'll show you some examples of that. And if you can pass a vertical line from left to right across that graph without it touching in more than one point, that passes the vertical line test and therefore it is a function. We are going to be talking about inverses of functions. And if you, on the IXL, if they ask you, is the inverse of this a function? Well then, instead of using the vertical line test, we're going to be using the horizontal line test. And so you would take your pen or pencil, make it horizontal, and pass it up and down. And if it touches the graph in more than one point, well, that means the inverse of that function would not be a function. Okay? And then finally, they're going to be asking us to actually find some inverses. And the way that you do that is you swap x and y in whatever equation they give you, and then you solve for y. And that will be the inverse of the function. Okay? So let's try some of these. Here is the IXL O11. Zoom in just a little bit so we can see this. There we go. It says, the graph below shows a function. Now, first of all, this is a function because if I were to take a line and pass it from left to right, you can see it never touches, and if you look, there are a lot of vertical lines here, it never touches any vertical line in more than one point. For instance, look at the y-axis here. It looks like it only touches at one point right there. It never touches in more than one point. So this passes the vertical line test, okay? So it says the graph below shows a function. Is the inverse also a function? Well, we know that the inverse will be a function if it passes the horizontal line test. So take a horizontal line and put it on there, and you can see this horizontal line touches that function in lots and lots of different points. So it fails the horizontal line test, and therefore the inverse is not a function. Okay? So to figure out if an equation is a function, you use the vertical line test. To see if its inverse is a function, you use the horizontal line test. And you can see that this horizontal line that I'm holding, this pen here, it looks like it touches there and there and there and there all over the place. So this one definitely fails the horizontal line test. So this one, I'm going to say no is the answer, and I'm going to click submit. Okay, well, let's see about this one. This one says the graph below shows a function. Is the inverse also a function? Well, the vertical line test, yes, this definitely is a function. What if we did the horizontal line test? Okay, it doesn't look to me like it's touching in any more than one point at any one time. So therefore, it passes the vertical line test, and we would say yes. Okay. And let's try one more of those. The graph below shows a function. Is its inverse also a function? Well, again, let's start from the bottom and go up. Now, this one has a curve to it, but does it ever touch the graph in more than one place? No, it doesn't appear that it does. So therefore, this one also passes, and this one, the inverse, is a function. Let's do one more of those before we go to the next level. Is the inverse a function? Again, horizontal line test to see if the inverse is a function. No, it is not. It definitely touches in more than one place. It touches, in this case, in two places. So this time the answer would be no. All right, now they're asking us to do something different. Find the inverse of the function. And it says, write your answer in the form ax plus b. Simplify any fractions. So y equals 2x. All right, I'm going to write that down here. Y is equal to 2x. Well, I told you at the very beginning, the way that you find an inverse is you swap the x and the y, and then you solve for y. So here we go. Swap the x and the y. So I'm going to make this x equals 2y. Instead of y equals 2x, it's x equals 2y. We're swapping the x and the y. Now you want to solve for y. That means get y all by itself on one side of the equal sign. The only thing keeping y from being all by itself here is this 2. So I could divide both sides by 2. These 2's would cancel out, and I get y equals, and I'm going to say this, there's a 1 in front of that x because they're asking us to write this in the form ax plus b. So I'm going to write it like this. I'm going to write it as, you could either write it as x over 2, but you could also, and I'm not sure how they're going to ask us to do this, you could also write this as 1/2 x because there would be an invisible 1 in front of there. So 1/2 x or x over 2, it probably is going to say either answer is correct. But let's see what we have here. It looks like we could use this to make a fraction. So let's just put x over 2 and see what it says. X over 2. So y equals x over 2. I'm going to hit submit, and it says we got that one right. Let's try another one. Find the inverse of the function. Y equals x minus 3. All right, y equals x minus 3. Let's do that over here. Y equals x minus 3. Swap the x and the y, so the x becomes the y and the y becomes the x. X equals y minus 3. Now solve for y. We want to get y by itself. There's a minus 3, so I'm going to add 3 to this side. I'm going to add 3 to this side. These 3's will cancel out, and I get y equals x plus 3. So x plus 3 is the inverse that I'm going to type in to the IXL. X plus 3, just like that. Okay, let's do one more. We're at a 76, so if we get this one right, we're going to be above 80, I think, and that's pretty much all they're asking us for. Find the inverse of the function. Y equals the cubed root of x plus 5. Y equals the cubed root of x plus 5. All right, well, that just means we have one extra step to do. How do you undo a cubed root? How do we get rid of this radical? How do you undo a cubed root? You undo a cubed root by cubing both sides. Take this side to the third power and take this side to the third power. If you take the cubed root, if you take the cube of a cubed root, all that happens is the radical goes away and you're left with x plus 5. Oh, hold on. I forgot one step, one very important step, didn't I? I forgot to swap the x and the y. So let's do that before we start. This becomes an x, and this becomes a y. All right, so play along with me here. We turn this into an x and this into a y. All right, now we're solving for y, rather. We're trying to get y by itself. And you do the same thing. You cube both sides, which means the radical goes away, and you're left with y plus 5 equals x to the third power. There we go. Sorry about that, but I forgot to swap the x and the y. Now we want to, in order to get y by itself, subtract 5 from this side, subtract 5 from this side, and you get y equals x to the third power minus 5. And there is the inverse. So let's type that in right there and see what it says. Let's see here. Now it gives us lots of choices. I'm going to type x, what do we say? X to the third power, so now I have to hit this one over here. X to the third power, what do we say, plus 5? No, minus 5. Minus 5. X to the third power minus 5. And that's it. We now got it over 80, and that's what we were hoping for. So, that's it. That's how you do O11. If you have any questions, just go ahead and put them down in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope this helps, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.